Hi everyone, it's me, Willow, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am back with another film review, and today is Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding. Woohoo! Okay, so I just got out of the theater and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Just gave it a 5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd, and I don't know, I just really loved this kind of fantastical body horror elements that she added into the film. I think it was a really standout cast led by Kristen Stewart and Kathy O'Brien. I think their chemistry is very palatable, and there were some good scenes in this movie, all I can say. I will definitely be watching this movie again in the future, but I think it was very tasteful as well, it wasn't the sex scenes were really good, especially for women loving women. I just feel so many, we are starting to get more representation for queer films, but I definitely think it's more on the male side. We're definitely getting more films featuring gay men, but not as many queer women, if you know what I'm saying. I feel a lot of shows get canceled featuring queer women, so it's great to see kind of a movie in the theaters right now with obviously Kristen Stewart's a big LGBTQ plus icon. I love her. I've loved her for forever. Panic Room, I feel that was the first movie I saw her in, was in Panic Room, or Into the Wild or something like that. And obviously Twilight is really big for her. When I was growing up, I didn't really watch Twilight, but I knew her in Twilight, but I wasn't really a Twilight person, so I never really watched them too much. But I was more interested in her indie movies, so I definitely add this to her indie movies. Obviously, I believe her last one was Spencer, and now coming off this from Spencer, wow, obviously it's a big jump, but I feel there are some elements in Spencer that are kind of the realism and the fantastical coming together, some sort of kind of hallucination, mind hallucinations. Also very similar to Love Lies Bleeding with Katie O'Brien's character. Katie O'Brien is stellar in this as well, so I just think she is really great in the role as this female bodybuilder who has this big dream to go to Vegas and do a bodybuilding show, and all of this crazy stuff gets in her way before she can even get there to do the performance. So yeah, Ed Harris is fantastic as well. I feel this movie really gives him a lot of grit and substance to be able to go with. I feel his kind of kookiness with the insects, and obviously his appearance kind of with the balding head with the long hair, is also very intrinsic. So he's kind of that weird oddball villain, but I think it really works with this dynamic, the dynamic of the film overall, with kind of the fantastical themes in it. But I think Ed Harris is so good as this crazy intrinsic villain, and right till the very end he is on his game. I watched this video a little bit ago talking about this one movie that he and Jessica Lange have been in production with since I think since 2021, maybe it was 2022. I believe it's called Long Day's Journey into Night. And I'm assuming because of the strikes, it got held back, but there's been no news about it. And I'm just so I've been anticipating this movie with Jessica Lange and Ed Harris, and seeing this movie with Ed Harris, and I'm just so excited for Long Day's Journey into Night. And Long Day's Journey into Night is very different from this movie. I think Long Day's Journey into Night is more of a dramatic period piece. But I just love seeing Ed Harris and the range that he has. He was really one of my favorite performances in the film. I just think Katie O'Brien, Kristen Stewart, and Ed Harris are fantastic in this film. Honestly, it's the three of theirs film. But I love Jenna Malone as well. Honestly, the second that she opened the door and we see her face in her house, and I was immediately like, oh wow, like obviously she experiences domestic violence from her husband. And then we are revealed who the husband is, and it's Dave Franco, who we first were introduced having sex with Katie O'Brien's character in the beginning of the film. So obviously that adds more tension to the whole thing, because now Katie O'Brien's seeing Kristen Stewart's character, and obviously Kristen Stewart is sisters to Jenna Malone, whose husband is Dave Franco. So I think that was a really great setup too, because like obviously we're introduced to Dave Franco and Katie O'Brien's character at the beginning. They're having sex. He gives her a job at Ed Harris's gun range as a waitress, and then it all comes full circle to how, oh, Dave Franco is actually an informant, but before he could like fully inform the FBI, he's killed because he brutally beats and I think kind of like maybe burnt Jenna Malone's face in the film. So I feel like the domestic violence themes were really well handled, and I feel like everybody would want to, you know, impose the same pain onto the abuser, you know, that they put onto their victim. So it was kind of satisfying to see what how Katie O'Brien just like beats his jaw on that coffee table. So that was very satisfying to watch. And I'm not a big horror person, and I don't love watching that type of brutality, but it was, I feel like the domestic violence element really like gave you more sympathy for like Katie O'Brien, Kristen Stewart, and just the position that they are in. So I really enjoyed the mixed uses of like realism and mystical fantasy, body horror elements. I think it's a really unique movie because it uses all of those plot points and different themes from different, you know, like film categories. Like I feel like you can't necessarily pinpoint it into one category because it's kind of like a murder mystery, but then there's a romance, but then there's some body horror, so but then they kind of like fantasy as well near the end. So yeah, I just think it's a really great movie with a great standout cast. I think the murder mystery element of the film with like the thriller as well really added a lot of like heightened energy to the film. I was on the edge of my seat. I think like the red scenes that we are shown, like the past, you know, Kristen Stewart's character's memories of that cavern and what her dad has forced her to do at that cavern, and like that's why it leads her and Katie O'Brien there when everything goes down with the murder. So I really liked the use of the red and like those past scenes. I think it really added as well to kind of the fantastical components and the fantastical visual components. And I just really appreciate that a lot of filmmakers right now are trying to give the audience these visual experiences. Obviously, when you go to the movies, you're gonna have a visual experience, but I felt like kind of that in the Coen brothers movie as well, when they did all those psychedelic scenes like intercutted. I really like it. Like, yeah, maybe like when you first see it, you're kind of caught off guard and you're like, okay, like we're watching this realistic movie. Why are you intercutting with all these different scenes that obviously aren't in the same world? They're kind of in the past maybe, or they're in your mind, like you're not 100% sure. So I just really like that filmmakers in the last couple months have been using that. And even last year in the 2023 season, a lot of people utilized black and white. And I feel like they didn't just utilize black and white to have like a black and white film, but actually really adds to the storytelling. And that's what goes with this movie, is the fact that these red flashbacks are really adding to the themes and the heightened, when is the FBI gonna find what is down in that cavern? The fact that Ed Harris has been doing this for years and nobody's been able to catch him, and Kristen Stewart, Lou, is trying to, you know, like corner him at this point. And that is kind of like how we are left off at the end of the film. Kind of feels like he is caught and they get to run off together. and be together with the cat and just live their U-Haul life. So I really enjoyed it. I just think it was such a good movie. I think the music was really well used as well. I think the synth themes, there were several different like synth themes that were going in and out of the different scenes to add like climax and build that up. I really enjoyed that. And just overall, I think the movie is really well done. I'm definitely gonna have to go see Rose Glass's first movie because I believe this is her second movie. I'm not sure what her first movie's called. I'll put it on the screen like I always do. But I'm definitely gonna go have to watch that because I believe it has like similar kind of like horror body. I did look it up, so I know it's more of like a horror movie than this one. Because I was a little scared to go into this because I'm like a wimp when it comes to horror movies, especially body horror. I feel like body horror is the worst for me in particular. I don't love gore and gruesome, but I feel like it wasn't too bad. Like I said, I'm a big squirmy person when it comes to that, and I feel like the worst was probably Dave Franco's death, which happens like maybe halfway through the movie or near more the beginning of the movie. So, and there's just like a couple scares that happen, but it's not too brutal. So I definitely, like, obviously don't bring your young kids to it. It's a mature movie, especially with some of like the sex scenes. But like I said, I think the sex scenes are very tasteful, and like I had mentioned, like obviously there's not a lot of women loving women content right now, so I think it's great that we get to see that representation on the big screen with both two queer women helming it. Like I had just previously, like I had also just mentioned Drive-Away Dolls with Ethan Coen, and I did that movie, and obviously that is a women-loving movie as well. And like I said, in that one, I don't really mind who plays a queer character or a straight character. It's acting, right? But I love when we get to give queer actors, you know, their dues. Like, it's so much harder in the industry for queer actors, especially queer actors of color, especially trans people of color. So I think it's amazing when we give these people opportunities to have leading roles, big blockbuster like this isn't a big, I guess it's not like a big blockbuster movie because I guess A24 is kind of an indie, like it is an indie an indie studio, but it's one of the more recognized studios, I would say. So it's great that it's been getting a lot of publicity, and I think hopefully people are going to see the movie. I went and saw it in the theater, and I really suggest all of you guys to go see it in the theater. I really feel like we are now getting into good meat of the movies. We had a slow first like 2 months. January and February weren't, you know, the best for movies, but now we're into March, halfway into March, and I have a feeling the rest of March is going to be great. And I know April, we got a lot of good movies coming out in April, and I'm just so excited. Like, we're only in March, and I just love a new festival and award season. Now that the 2023 award season's all over, we are going into the 2024-2025 award season and festival season. So I just love seeing all these movies and getting to support one of my favorite art forms. So yeah, please leave a comment down below if you guys went and saw Love Lies Bleeding, and comment your favorite part. I think my favorite part has to be near the end when Kristen Stewart is beating up Jenna Malone. They're like as sisters. She's like, "Where's Katie O'Brien? Where's Dad?" And Jenna Malone finally tells Kristen Stewart where they are, and then she just goes, "I fucking love you, sis," and like runs out. And if you have a sister, that was it was so funny. It was like such a realistic scene. But yes, so please leave a comment down below your favorite part of Love Lies Bleeding, or your favorite Kristen Stewart movie, or if you've seen Rose Glass's previous movie. Please leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and subscribe. all the interaction with my channel really helps it to grow. So thank you guys so much for supporting my channel, and I hope you guys enjoyed this spoiler review of Rose Glass's Love Lies Bleeding. I'll see you guys in my next film review. Bye!